not just talking about another marketing tactic today. No, we are going deep. We are going to deconstruct a fundamental law of human attention itself. We're going to explore this really counterintuitive idea that your most helpful, your most value-packed headlines might actually be the very reason no one is clicking. And more importantly, we're going to talk about how to fix it by, well, engineering an irresistible urge to know more.
So, listen to this. The greatest strategic failure in marketing is the full disclosure trap. This right here, this is the entire premise of our deep dive. What it's really saying is that our instinct, to be helpful, to give all the value right up front, it's a strategic catastrophe. Why? Because the human brain, at its absolute core, isn't motivated by what it already knows. It's switched on, it's energized, and it's practically forced into action by what it doesn't know, by a very specific, and I mean maddeningly effective, form of incompletion.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to diagnose the problem we all face, the full disclosure trap. Then, we'll get into the fun stuff, engineering the solution, which we'll call the knowledge void. After that, we'll unpack the deep psychology that makes this whole thing work. And crucially, we'll build a practical framework so you can master this. Finally, we'll wrap up with the big idea, the logic of incompletion.
Okay, let's kick things off with this paradox that just plagues so many smart marketers. You've done the work. You've crafted the perfect, value-packed headline. It's crystal clear, it's loaded with benefits, and it tells the user exactly what they're going to get. And yet, crickets. The click-through rate is in the gutter. What is going on? I want you to really sit with this question for a second. What if the very thing we've been taught to do, be clear, be helpful, is the exact reason nobody's clicking? Our obsession with clarity, with making things easy and obvious, might actually be the enemy of action. In trying to remove all the friction, we might have accidentally removed the one neurological trigger that actually gets a human being to lean in and engage: pure, unadulterated curiosity. And here is the fundamental truth, the core insight of this entire system. Your brain isn't just some passive bucket waiting for you to pour information into it. No, it is an active, pattern-matching, gap-closing machine. It loves solving puzzles. When it sees a complete picture, it just goes, okay, got it, files it away, and moves on. But, and this is the important part, when it detects a missing piece, a little void in its knowledge, it triggers an alarm. It creates an almost physical need to find that missing piece and restore order. And that need, well, that need is what makes us click.
Let's make this super concrete. This slide shows the two different worlds perfectly. On the left, you have the value reveal. 10 ways to save time with our AI tool. It's helpful, it's clear, and it's a total dead end for curiosity. Your brain processes it in a nanosecond. Okay, it's a list of 10 things. Got it. Curiosity satisfied. No click necessary. Now, look at the right side, the curiosity anchor. It starts with something we all know, the 80-20 rule. But then it throws a wrench in the works. It introduces this strange new variable you've probably never heard of, the inverse 1%, and it claims that is what really matters. Instantly, a massive gap opens up in your mind. What on earth is that? How does that change what I thought I knew? I have to find out.
And this brings us to a really critical concept, a term for this problem: information satiety. Think of it like a meal. The headline on the left just fed your user a complete, satisfying little snack. They're full now, so why would they bother coming into the restaurant for the main course? You've successfully educated them, but you have completely failed to move them. And that's the key. Your goal in a headline isn't to feed them, it's to make them hungry.
Okay, so we've properly diagnosed the problem. Now, let's get into the good stuff and actually engineer the solution. And I want to be really clear. This is not about creating some random mystery or writing vague, annoying clickbait. This is a precise, almost architectural process for creating what we call a micro-tease. This right here is the fundamental mindset shift you have to make. You've got to stop being a provider of answers in your headlines and instead become an architect of questions in your audience's mind. Your number one job in any hook is to identify a piece of information that the user now feels they absolutely cannot live without, and then you strategically place it just behind the click. You're manufacturing a specific, targeted information void that their brain will feel a biological compulsion to fill.
And this is how we do it, systematically. It's a simple, repeatable, three-part system called the gap creation loop. This isn't just a gimmick. It's a structure specifically designed to bypass all that rational thinking and tap directly into that primal, powerful urge to know. So, let's break down each Step 1 is the context anchor. Look, you can't just create a mystery out of thin air. That's not intriguing. It's just confusing noise. You have to ground it in the user's world first. You do that by starting with a known variable, something familiar, something relevant to them, just like the 80-20 rule. This grabs their attention immediately and signals that what you're about to say is actually for them. You're establishing common ground. You're basically saying, hey, we're in the same world, we speak the same language.
Now here comes the crucial move. Once you've anchored them, you introduce the micro-anomaly. This is that one specific missing piece of data that completely disrupts their understanding of the anchor. You contradict it, you challenge it, you reveal a hidden layer they never knew existed. That phrase, inverse 1%, is just perfect because it sounds specific, it sounds official, and it implies there's a deeper secret to a rule they thought they completely understood. The void is now officially open.
And finally, step 3, tension resolution. The user is now in the state of mild cognitive dissonance. There's an open loop plane in their mind, an itch that needs to be scratched. Well, the brain is hardwired to seek what psychologists call cognitive equilibrium. It wants to feel balanced and complete. And at this point, the click isn't just one of many options. You've positioned it as the only way to restore that balance. The click becomes less of a logical choice and more of a biological necessity.
So, okay, we've got the how, but why? Why is this system so devastatingly effective? To really understand that, we need to go a little bit deeper into the behavioral psychology that this whole framework is built on. Because really, this isn't just a marketing trick. It's a feature of our brain's operating system.
The first major pillar is a concept from George Lowenstein called information gap theory. And what his research found is just fascinating. When we become aware of a gap between what we know and what we want to know, our brain literally registers that feeling as a form of deprivation. It feels like an unpleasant state, a lot like being hungry or thirsty. And that feeling of deprivation kicks the seeking system in our brain into high gear. It's a powerful reward pathway that motivates us to go explore, to hunt, and to find that missing information so we can make that awful feeling go away.
And this is supercharged by the second pillar, the Zeigarnik Effect. You know this feeling. It's why a cliffhanger on a TV show drives you absolutely crazy. It's the psychological tendency to remember incomplete or interrupted tasks way better than completed ones. That inverse 1% we talked about? Well, that's now an unfinished task sitting in your brain. It stays top of mind, creating this persistent internal pressure. You'll find yourself thinking about it even a few moments later. And the only way to get rid of that mental nagging is to complete the loop, which means you have to click.
Okay, so we've covered the problem, the mechanism, and the deep psychology. That's all great. But now let's get really practical. How do we turn all this powerful theory into a repeatable, actionable framework? How can you start implementing this, like right now?
The path to really mastering these curiosity anchors has 3 distinct steps. First, you've got to audit what you're already doing to find where you're killing curiosity. Second, you have to get really good at isolating the most powerful part of your message to use as the tease. And third, you need to learn how to frame that tease in a way that makes it absolutely irresistible.
So let's quickly break these down. The Reveal Audit is a super simple exercise. I want you to literally go through your last 10 headlines, your last 10 ads, your last 10 email subject lines. Find every single place where you give the answer away, where you give away the punchline. Your job is to surgically remove that payoff. Next, identify the singular anomaly. Don't try to tease 5 different things. Find the single most surprising, the most counterintuitive, or just plain weird detail in your content, and build your entire hook around that one thing. And finally, and this is so important, use specific uncertainty.
This right here, this is such a critical distinction. Honestly, this is a game changer. Vagueness is not intriguing. It's just lazy. The next stage is generic and boring. But the third stage? Now that is incredibly compelling. Why? Because it implies there's a known, structured process out there that I am not aware of. It creates a very specific void in my head. My brain immediately starts asking, wait, what are stages 1 and 2? What happens in stage 3 that's so important? That specificity makes the missing information feel more concrete, more real, and therefore much more valuable.
So, all of this brings us to our final essential insight. This is the core philosophy that underpins not just a marketing tactic, but really a much deeper understanding of how human attention works in this completely saturated digital world we all live in.
So if you only take one single thing away from this entire explainer, please let it be this: attention is a byproduct of incompletion. You cannot demand attention anymore. You can't just shout louder than everyone else. Attention isn't something you can take. It's something that is freely given to the things our brain simply cannot ignore. By mastering this logic of incompletion, you stop adding to the noise. You transform yourself from a noisemaker into an irresistible itch, a mental puzzle that the user has no choice but to scratch.
And really, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? The best marketing doesn't push a message onto a passive audience. Instead, it engineers a powerful, undeniable pull that draws an active seeker towards the value you have to offer. And it works because it respects the fundamental nature of the human mind, our unending, our insatiable, and our incredibly powerful desire to just close the gap and find out what happens next.